Welcome to the show.
Hi, Brittany. Thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you. Do you remember when we first met? I'm trying to think back. I feel like I've known you for a while now.
I think it's like more than a year and a half ago, I would say. Definitely beginning 2021 or something like that.
Which in startup is like decades.
Yes.
I was talking to somebody yesterday and we were like introducing ourselves to other people. We were like, we're longtime friends. And then we realized we have only known each other for like maybe 2.5, 3 years. But in our minds, in our startup minds, we're like, oh, it's been generations. Our families are friends, like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like there's a relativity perspective from startup. It like sounds like we went through war together and so on.
Exactly. They're like, so last summer, and we're like, oh yeah, I guess technically. So I feel that way with you. I feel like we've had this long journey, but it's probably only been like 18 months, but nevertheless.
Yeah, but thanks, because you were the first one to answer back when we were looking for some support and advice. So I really appreciate that.
I love it. I love my early stage founders. I love my founders so much. Well, Laura, even though we have this long-term relationship, I still don't know like your personal background. So could you please tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself, where you're calling from today and kind of your journey? Where did you grow up? Did you go to school? And how did you get into Femtech?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Belgium, first of all, represent. And I went to school, yes, indeed. And I was always passionate about science. So I kind of majored in high school, if we can say that, in science, and always like trying to understand how things were working, basically. Always very curious about things. And simultaneously to this, or since I can remember, I've always been as well passionate by music, and especially going to the records of my parents. I was raised under the Beatles and Woodstock vibes. So I would say that's like the two major points of my childhood. And then my background, I would say more academic. I studied business engineering, which I think it's really specific to Belgium, but not what it is business, a business school, but with as well a scientific background. And the idea is to form people to become business people in the pharmaceutical industry or consulting with anything related to science or tech. And while I did that, I was always focused in majoring in entrepreneurship. So always a big interest in that field. I was always in projects. So my parents used to scold me a lot because I would say not rarely in school. Definitely at university, I was not in the auditorium, that's for sure. But I was always in different projects, whether it comes to like bringing people together, create something, whether it's creative and tech together. And yeah, so I did that. I graduated after 5 years, bachelor, master degree, and then I initiated my career in anything related to startups and especially creative technology. So whatever innovation or new technology applied to the creative industry with a focus on music tech or audio tech. And after 5-6 years, creating as well independent consulting. There was a music label as well, who's still running, based in Paris. And now I founded Munai in Barcelona. And Monnai is the audio app for alleviating period pain and improving women's well-being.
I love it. So at what point did you become passionate about women's health or think that you needed to put your skills in this industry?
So I think there's two different things. There's if you were interviewing my father, he would probably tell you that I've always been very rebellious and very feminist since day one. And that's probably because I was always arguing back against him and questioning some rules and questioning why, oh, I cannot play football. Why is that? Oh, because you're a girl. Although he let me play football, I like to clarify this. But they were kind of, like very British as well, rules or like norms, and no, not ladylike. Okay, what does it mean to be ladylike? And since I'm 5 years old, I was talking back and trying to be a very little Napoleon about these things. So I say that passion, but I never saw myself as feminist or being in women's health or being advocate in that area. I was just doing my thing. So that's how I always saw things. I try not to talk too much and do.
Mhm.
And then when I met my ex-co-founder, when we started working on Moonai, she is really advocate and has such a big expertise in that field. She studied that all her life. And so she really introduced me to this aspect while I was bringing more, I would say, the tech and the audio technology and all this aspect to it. And bit by bit, I basically learned more about it, met people like you. Most of the community, I would say, in women's healthcare, femtech, who's all very collaborative, which is absolutely fantastic. I don't think you get that in other industries. And as well, I would say that more and more by learning and working on Munai, discovering some things. We were just talking earlier on about some other norms or things I don't understand in 2022, how it's possible to happen. It just got me more and more, well, pulled into it. So I would say, yeah, I fell into that sector, which
You know,
seemed natural, I think, at the
I
end.
I think there is a femtech advocate in almost all of us, but we just didn't know that we had to advocate for it, you know?
Yes.
I'm a person who's always fought for women's rights, but yet I had no idea, even as a scientist, how biased science and medicine was towards male biology. So a lot of times it's just needing to open the door, crack the door for the feminists of the world. And then they're like, what?
Yeah, no, it's quite interesting because I always it's obviously a bit controversial what I'm going to say, but bear with me. I'm not really fond of using the word feminist, femtech, woman healthcare because it again emphasizes the difference. Whereas we're talking about health and it should be any gender, and I'm talking about whether it's masculine, feminine, transsexual gender as well, like any or whatever gender you want to be, but it should be health, universal health. So I'm always a bit confused about the wording because it's an opportunity that you want to see. My mother didn't have these chances when it comes to, oh, we're going to invest in femtech and so on. So you want to appear and be in that community and be strong together. But at the same time, there's this dilemma of like raising the differences. So yeah, as you said, I didn't think myself as in that field because it's a human thing. So why would you need to actually advocate against it or for it? It doesn't make sense. But here we are, 2022.
Here we are.
In the likes of the recent events, still like fighting for very, very common sense rights, but it is what it is.
Yep, that's right. That's how far behind we are. And that's why, you know, I personally hope that femtech as a word doesn't exist anymore in the future. But I think for right now, it's been so underserved that like it needs a movement and the movement needs a word. And so I'm behind it for now, but I'm also totally with you on the same page.
Yeah, it's like, it's not, I'm not for or against it. It's just like, this is my opinion. It's not black or white. It's just, yes, good, seize the opportunity, let's stick together, but as well, let's raise the concern about the fact that we might increase the difference again. So
yep,
that's right. About it.
That's right. Well, let's jump into your company. What is Munai?
So Moonai is an audio app who helps alleviate period pain and beyond. And what I mean by beyond is as well improving well-being in general. So just to give a bit of context of how it is, what it comes, because it always sounds very strange with the audio app for period pain. What? So we started working on this project when my ex-founder and we met at a hackathon, the typical 72 hours to build a startup from scratch, Silicon Valley vibe. And so that was very exciting, unless you're a woman who just started her cycle and your 72 hours is like just gone. So that's what happened. And we were just thinking, wow, okay, we have 72 hours. We don't even have time to, manage our pain or to lie down, to take a rest. It's not possible. So slowly getting to the realization that society is not really adapted for half of the worldwide population. And knowing my background in audio technology and the fact that I was already using sound to trick my brain because I have ADHD. So I use music who has this really incredible power over me, whether it's my soul, my brain, my body, but to trick my brain to do things or to trick me. So we started questioning, is there a way to basically alternate pain perception and even the emotional states linked to menstrual pain through sound and music. And basically, this is how it started. So we went on the science side, talked with neuroscientists, a doctor who conducted actually the clinical trial on how does music affect people suffering from dysmenorrhea, scientific term for period pain. And at the same time, we were doing some user research by talking to more than 130 women based in Europe and US and asking them a bit like, okay, what's their journey through menstrual pain? And aside from the pain itself, obviously, it was the lack of non-chemical and non-intrusive solution with a comprehensive approach, because again, it's like, oh, you have period pain, here's a pill and that's it, like as if one size fits all, whereas it's not the case. So that's how it started. And so now we've been maybe 2 years into it. We had our first product coming out, like the first version of the app who came out discreetly, I would say, in February, because we were still like working it out. And now it's like just started communicated a bit more. However, without any communication, we reached 10,000 downloads in
So
like
proud of you.
less than 3 months. It was just absolutely insane. And the comments, the feedback, whereas you know what it is like the MVP who goes out, it's like in the most shittiest version you can imagine of. You're like,
Yeah,
okay,
founders are all ashamed. I feel that way all
yeah.
the time. I'm always like, I could do better, but please, I need feedback.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this is like the shittiest thing. I mean, I'm very proud of it, but of course it was like the basic feature just to see if people would download it, people will use it, now they're coming back, and we got that. So yeah, that's about it. So obviously it's an audio app for alleviating period pain, in cross-section of healthcare, audio technology, femtech, but as well as I recently learned psytech, because it is a psychological intervention through technology, which is a rising sector. And yeah, the purpose is just to offer tools who won't be chemical intrusive for women and whoever identify or as women or whoever wants to use it to feel better.
Well, I want to dive into how does sound and music scientifically, biologically help you feel better? Because I mean, even just this past Friday with the news of Roe versus Wade, I was telling my team like, hey, y'all, self-care this weekend, listen to your favorite songs. Like I can recall like even suggesting that, but yet I had no idea there was actually science behind that. I understand like I have certain like pump up songs when I work out, like that get me motivated. But I think that you're probably alluding to something way more scientific, or maybe it's kind of the same. So just kind of dive into that for us.
It's a bit of a whole bubble of that. I don't know if you saw or you're familiar with Stranger Things.
Yes.
The last season.
Yes.
But there's something weird about how music actually saved one of the main character, because music is going to certain part of the brain that conversation wouldn't have, and so on. So for me, it was very interesting to see this pop out, because I guess the timing is perfect. Just like use pop culture to promote Munai.
Things, hashtag.
Yeah, thank you Netflix for the endorsement. Love that. So yeah, there's different things. So just to keep it kind of short, because it's very an extensive topic, and I usually really get carried out on it, and we'll speak for another until tomorrow probably. And actually there are some podcasts about that on Spotify, so if you want another listen about it, please go. So we are working, especially when we talk about music, it's more sound, and more exactly soundscapes. So it's this kind of immersive sounds that you would hear, who's a bit drawn, ambient, no real percussion, but it's based on really how it's going to create this field, the surrounding around you. So just to clarify soundscape, what it is, and what's the science behind it is basically what we're trying to do, what we're not trying to do, what we are doing is we're provoking brainwave entrainment. And so brainwave entrainment is how some external stimuli like audio can influence your brainwave to behave as if you were in a pain-free state or in a relaxed state. There's different range going for alpha, beta waves, whatsoever. And these, you can influence them by creating specific sounds, which are called binaural beats. And so just a very short explanation, binaural beats is when you create a sound where in the left and the right ear, there's a difference of frequency, let's say 100 hertz and 110. Your brain hates when there's an imbalance, so it will create a third illusion of that 10 hertz in between. This 10 hertz is therefore influencing your brain waves. That's a bit the mechanism. So depending on the frequency difference, you have different effects of relaxation, but still being alert and productive, or deep sleep, completely like falling asleep so there's different areas. So that's one thing, is the brainwave entrainment with the binaural beats. Let me know if I'm going too far into details. I told you, like, I usually get carried away.
No, you're doing great. This is good. I'm very interested in this. So, okay.
And then there's other sector, like how the sound is being built, or the parameters of the sound, as I would call them. So for example, every soundscape music has a BPM, a beat per minute. So for example, we would calibrate it around 60, because 60 BPM is how your heartbeat is at a relaxed state. So naturally, if you listen to it, your breathing is going to adjust to what you're hearing. And therefore, breathing is increasing, oxygen level is increasing, your veins are dilating due to that. So the blood flow is way better. And what causes mainly period cramp is the obstruction of the blood flow. So that's one of it. And just to let you know, we have like 50 parameters different, like is it major note, minor notes, etc. So that's a bit the science. And we work with neuroscientists, such as Dr. Bilateral, Dr. Hanan Harvey, but as well award-winning sound engineer who as well have an expertise in neuroscience, such as Tom Middleton. So we're always working together with all the clinical trials who are out, the research paper who are out, what they have been doing for all their life, which is an extensive amount of work. And we work together to create this guideline that we then present to our sound designers, and they go through validation to bring the sound into the app. And then there's obviously different validation system, but the last one is in the app, there's a user feedback. So once you listen to the sound, you can literally say, yeah, it helped me, no, it didn't. And so we are improving the algorithm through this as well.
So freaking cool. So I have a lot of questions, as I do. So, one thing I'm a big fan of is EMDR for PTSD treatment, where it's essentially bilateral stimulation. So you're doing, sometimes you hold these little pods that vibrate and it goes left, right, or you can do tapping on your legs, left, right, or even walking can stimulate that bilateral stimulation. And that's why they say, like, taking a walk with a friend and like just chatting about stuff helps you process it way faster. Do you know of any music bilateral stimulation? Like if the music was in one ear and then the other ear, one ear, like, is that a method of this?
I think it's connected as well with what I was explaining with the binaural beats.
Yeah.
Working on different frequencies, but for sure there's other thing called spatial audio, who plays around the movement of the sound that you would hear from left to right. And so a bit, I would say, changing your sensation, what you're used to. So spatial audio, whether it's me personally or in the plans of Moonai, it's something that we're looking deeply into. Everything related to, as I said, audio technology and innovation is the field where I'm obsessed with. And that definitely triggers some brain areas who lighten up what you were explaining as well with the motricity. I read that not long ago in a research paper, but the fact of juggling with balls is training the elasticity of your brain as well. So whether it comes from a motricity level or as well just auditive one, for sure, it's impacting your brain and creating this kind of elasticity and improving some of the cognitive function of it.
Cool. Do any sets of headphones work with this, or do you need specific types of headphones?
So obviously I would say the better quality, the better it is. We are actually testing right now. I love that you asked this question, because we recently, and I say recently, it's like literally the month of May, started to work to create a lab, Moonai lab, which is called 6K, where the idea is to test gear there. Not only for the producer that we have in Barcelona to come and produce with the right gear and to try to test new things, but as well as a user, how do you consume it? What is going to be the most efficient? Because obviously we can't propose an app who will require super expensive headsets. That's not going to happen. I mean, we can try. I'm not sure it's going to work out. we can recommend, which is part of like what we have in plan, especially back in say like business development and marketing, we do have this recommendation because at the end we want to ensure the right experience, immersive experience. But the idea is to at least have headsets, headphones, earbuds to have this different frequency.
Yeah.
You can have it, you can listen to the sound through your computer in a speaker, but we do recommend through the app, please listen to headphones. This is how it works. We explain in the app why we do recommend it, not like, oh, the brainwave entrainment, binaural beat, this is how it works. This is why you need headphones. And because as well, nowadays, everybody do have some.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's recommendation of the highest quality, of course, for everything, but it would do with any headphones and earphones that you have available.
Well, what about the deaf community? Could they participate in this even if they can't really hear it?
So unfortunately, no. And I'm actually quite comfortable with this question as well, because we can't do everything for everyone.
Yeah.
And we have as well like question, although it's an app linked to women's health and menstrual health, we have a lot of men asking us, what about us?
Yeah.
So it's like we can't tackle everything. So we're focusing on this approach. However, some features later on in our roadmap, which will be more linked to haptic sensation, might be useful then for the hearing impaired community, non-hearing impaired community. But at this stage, it's focusing, obviously, it's an audio app. So we are focusing right now on people who have the ability to listen. But then later on, there might be some feature will make it more accessible for them.
Cool. So cool. And yes, I totally agree. We cannot be everything to everyone. I was just kind of curious about the science of the audio stuff with that community, but let's dive into specifically how this audio science is helping women with menstrual cramps. Can you tell us a little bit about the biology? Like, why do periods hurt? I think I know, right? I think we all kind of know, but you really know.
Kind of know.
Yeah. Why do periods hurt, and how would audio, support that pain?
So I wouldn't say I know it all, because as we just discussed before we started, we are making discovery every day. And considering that women were included in a lot of clinical trials only in the 90s, there's still a lot to be discovered. We were talking about the moon as well, effect and so on. So I would say that I'm every day learning more, every day trying to make progress on that. And as well as a part of Moonai is trying to educate as well people on their body, basically. So why do they hurt? There's different factor, but I think the most one who's always put forward and on a biological level is the prostaglandins, which is this glands that are being triggered when your uterus is shedding this inner liner, which, if I'm not mistaken, is like causing this inflammation. But that's one biological thing. The other thing is the whole psychology behind it, the whole emotional part behind it, which we're trying to cover in these three sections. So biologically, we deliver some sound to help with the pain perception of these prostaglandins sending signals that it hurts, and trying to intervene at that level. So as I said, external stimulation with audio to alternate the pain perception. The psychological level is like, we know that we're going to have a period, we know it's going to hurt, so therefore it's triggering this kind of, when you're expecting something to hurt, it hurts.
Oh yeah,
definitely. So there's as well this part of having this audio and sound. We does create a distraction to it, so it's helpful as well to have this kind of sound, to have our head disconnected from it, and as well having this app who's basically telling you, hey, can help you to alleviate your pain. So this kind of this sensation that you're being listened to, and like you're acting towards, you're making a self-care, who's this self-care, which show that a lot of self-care intervention are having as much as efficiency as any other painkillers or chemical intervention. And then the third point is more of a social aspect, or how do you, this fact of feeling alone, basically, feeling that it's, your period, you're feeling isolated, you have this shift of emotions going on and so on. So that's the third point where we are trying to intervene, where we are intervening as well. It's like the sense of community, like you're not alone, everybody's going through it. And so emphasizing this aspect as well. So that will be the three verticals. But in terms of what does it trigger, aside from the prostaglandins, the blood flow restriction and so on, there's still so much unknown.
Yeah.
It's more than 600 different symptoms.
600 symptoms?
600 different symptoms.
Oh my God.
When I learned that, and then I had some people ask me, yeah, but if I have a back pain, please go use it. Like, it's 600 different symptoms. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, speaking about that, I guess I'd like to talk about like, what else could this help with? But first, tell me, you have these 10,000 users, and I'm so freaking impressed with you. I'm so proud again, like, having met someone who says, I have an idea, to like, people are using it. Like, I love it. So what are people's feedback on the app?
So first of all, thank you so much. And I must say that when it went out, people use it, and we got the first actually result of our prototype, not the MVP, but when we did it like secretly, and we saw that people were saying, oh, it helped me, I can't believe it. There was really this moment where I was like, shit, I can't believe it actually works. It was like, are you serious? Like, it was like everything was so theoretical, and like, I can't believe that it actually works. Like, although we always believed in it, and it was just like, oh wow, okay, cool. So that was really amazing. And then now, since the product came out, the MVP came out in February, the first comments were just brilliant. They were always there was a lot of bugs in the app, so the app was closing down, like typical first MVP. You love.
If your app is bugging out right now, you're an early stage founder, don't worry, it happens to all of us. Just tell people to chill, you'll be fine.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely something I would have loved to know. It's like, it won't be perfect. It's gonna crash. The app is going. There was so many anxiety with these apps, and the war that I had with the developers as well. That's another lesson. Find someone, a product person, to do the translation between the dev and the business. Super important.
Yep.
But yeah, so we got the first, I would say, between February to April, more or less, like the first reviews out, which overall was like, we love the app, but it's bugging. But it was only these kind of thing. It was like, I love it. I love the sounds. It's really helpful. I'm frustrated because it's shut down. So it was like negative feedback, but at the same time, good feedback, because people wanted more and more and more. So instead of feeling bad about it, we took it like, again, a fuel to like, okay, cool. And now, since the last 2 months, so there's been some review and update about the product, and every time somebody's adding a comment, it's just like, I can't explain. It's like, opening a present at Christmas. Sounds super cheesy, but that's how it is, because what you are working on is actually helping people. Comments like people with endometriosis, which we never claim to do anything for endometriosis. It's a medical situation who requires a lot of medical attention. We are not a medical device. We don't claim in that field. So having people suffering from endometriosis telling us, hey, it didn't cut off all my pain, but actually I managed to sleep, which it's impossible when I'm having my crisis. And we're like, oh wow, like that's. And so people who go to the hospital when it happened would actually listen to Moonai and manage to fall asleep. So that was the first one. And then what was very interesting as well, it was the viral coefficient. So how many people were recommending it without us asking? Because, and that's the power, I think, of like women, because when it works, we just talk about it, especially when it comes to self-care or menstrual health and so on. So it was always like, yeah, I've been recommended this app, can I hear more about it? And so far, only positive comment about how it improves well-being, how it improves people to actually lower their pain, to feel better. Other people are coming for totally other reason that they're using the app. So people who are pregnant, people going through an IVF, which I didn't know anything about IVF. Am I saying that right? IVF, FVG, the fertility process.
IVF. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I'm totally unfamiliar with it, but what I've heard, it's sort of very long, lengthy process, very tough emotionally, very tiring. And some people mentioned that they were using the sound just to as well like feel better about it or try to improve their mood, because there's an action of creation of endorphins, serotonin that is being implied. And there's a lot of different cases, but like IVF, there's people who used it as well for chemo, like they go through the chemo sessions and they need to have this kind of relaxing moment where they don't think about the pain, they don't think about what's happening to them, and then maybe in a light mood. My own mother used it when she get angry at my father, for example, and she wants to relax. That's like, I'm hearing so many things and I'm like, okay, that's great. I mean, we're focused on menstrual pain because we have this comprehensive approach where the question that we ask for the personalization of the app, because it's not, here's the sound. It's like, no, what's your intensity of your pain? What's your emotion? And what are you looking to do? Are you trying to be focused or are you trying to be relaxed? Because that's going to be different sounds. So that's how we're focusing on menstrual pain and the education behind it. But truth is that it improved, that's what we say, and beyond, because we are seeing so many people using it and apps dedicated for women well-being. Well, there's not a lot. There's a lot of initiatives going out now, which thankfully, but audio app in that targeting, aside from Headspace and Calm, you are like targeting like mental health in general, which is brilliant. But, you know, as women, there's different aspects to it. There's different emotion implied to it. Menstrual pain is not just physical pain, as explained, there's emotional behind it, it's social, it's so much more than a backache, for example. So
oh my goodness. This is so awesome. You know, you mentioned a few things that are very femtechy. I know you're like, right, healthcare, it's healthcare. I know, but there's some aspects of targeting women's health that are unique. And that's why I argue for when anyone in health tech or med tech says, oh, I'm just going to start a women's health thing. I'm like, there are unique aspects that we're working with here. And you mentioned some of them. One, targeting loneliness. A lot of women feel lonely in their conditions, whether that be about their periods or their migraines or their autoimmune disease. A lot of women feel isolated. So the fact that you have community is awesome. It's a big part of being a successful femtech company. And then second, you talked about the referral program. The number one sales method in femtech is referrals. Women, if it works, they will tell their friends. And so if you are not seeing a viral effect, don't feel too bad, but there is a certain aspect of like, how well is your product working? Because if it's a rock star product, women will tell their friends usually. So
definitely. Like I couldn't agree more. This is what that's really what I would say was used as a fuel. And I must thank Elena, my ex-co-founder, for that, because she was always saying, if we get the product out, it doesn't matter the feature whatsoever. We just need to taste the basic. And the basic is like, are they going to use it and are going to come back and talk about it? And then when we saw these things happening in front of us, we're like, did we just like do something here?
Yeah, you tapped into something. So awesome. Well, Laura, we have two last questions that our listeners love. The first one is, if someone wanted to start a femtech startup, what's an area in women's health and wellness that you think still needs innovating?
Many. There's so many. I think, first of all, it's good to target a niche. Although I'm not claiming I'm the wisest, the most experienced. Some people will disagree on me, but it seems to me that in terms of business, it's better to target a niche of unaddressed problem that we know that there's really users behind, community behind, people who will use the product. It's a real pain. And then I would say a specific one, well, obviously menstrual health, there's still many things behind it. And like, for example, in the lights of recent events, GDPR regarding fertility tracking apps, because now we know that, well, we're kind of in deep shit, if I may say, with everything related to our fertilities and tracking and so on. So I think now that one of the biggest concern is to make sure that these information are encrypted, that they are not being shared, used, otherwise women will just not, delete these kind of apps. So So that's something to look into, like the whole security behind these information, who are very, very sensitive. And I think there's a lot of work to still be done in sensitive data regarding especially to femtech, because most of us are all coming in that field based on first frustration, but usually we are not. I'm maybe generalizing. I don't know. I'm just saying that out loud. But we don't come from like a deep tech or security. And I think this is an area where there should be like some more innovation or incentives and look upon it. And linked to menstrual health as well, I would say something about the menstrual health, but how our cycles are affecting our habits. And we were talking about productivity and so on, which I'm 31 years old and I'm discovering only now that depending on the week, it's going to affect me differently. So we were talking about this some week where you need to be in total isolation, which I'm right now. Like, don't talk to me. I'm doing a lot of self-reflection, introspection. I need to be like doing administrative work. And other moment was like, I need to be out social and like I have this energy peak. And no one ever told us that, which is it's unbelievable, because we know we have these cycles. And no, not one point we would have thinking maybe it's affecting us in a different way, even for eating habit, the weight loss. It's a struggle because we're going through these hormonal changes. So all of this needs to be like continuing what's happening, because I think that obviously Rome wasn't built in one day. There's still a lot of things going on, and we're doing 10 steps forwards and then 8 steps back, depending on the countries.
I feel like in America we're just falling down a mountain. We're just like tumbling down.
I think it's like it's progressing. I think it's the same for everything. It's always humans are like that. You always need to go from one extreme and then like calibrate back to find an equilibrium. I think there needs to be as well, and that's why I'm being cautious with the word femtech or women's health and so on. Is we need to show more that it's tech, healthcare, information and technology, to show unfortunately the value behind it. Or for example, when I'm pitching Monnai to investment funds and so on, I talk in terms of figures.
Yeah.
A woman is taking 9 days of work during a whole year because of her menstrual pain. That represent more or less 7.7 million euros of loss on average for a company yearly. I think, unfortunately, if you want to have progress, you need, I like to use the example of like crossing a river stream. You just can't go straight like this and fight and take the risk to drown because of you losing all your strength. But if you go with the flow, you will cross the other side in a more secure way and more smooth way. But yeah, you need to like, there's an expression in French to say like, you need to bite on your gum for that. Like it goes against the nature of like trying to show basic things, basic human rights. But yeah, unfortunately, you need to go that way. And that's the way to go. I'm the first one to do it. I'm always saying I'm the most non-ethical person in that way, because at least once I get in a position where I can do things, I will do them. But I need to get there to do this. So
that's right. Laura, we could talk all day.
Yes,
the last
absolutely.
question I have is, what do you think the femtech industry as a whole needs the most right now in order to be successful?
Investment.
Give us the money. We can't do it.
I'm unapologetic around that. Again, very controversial. I think I'm just saying every controversial thing that shouldn't be said. But I think I love the support system of the femtech community. It's absolutely insane. I never saw, I come from more music tech, audio tech, which I think is very highly collaborative because it's based on a passion, which is music. And that's why I love this field and so on. But femtech is like on another level. Everyone's wants to collaborate, which even creates new business schemes. So nobody's seeing anybody as competition, but rather, hey, actually, how can we work together? And that's something day one we saw with all the other apps, and there's so many shout outs I want to do from other femtech company organizations, someone who just welcomed us in the space and just trying to find a way to make an improvement, because that's the end goal. And not profit is one thing, but the other end goal is like improving health. But the sad truth is as well, there's a lack of investment. There's some initiative going out there, But if you look at most of accelerator program or open calls, pitch competition, and it's no mean to diss anyone, but usually it's, oh, we are going to offer mentorship, we are going to offer this, which is nice. I've been now in Moonai since nearly 2 years. I don't know how many accelerator programs I did, incubators, competition, pitch, like so many. So that was fine at the beginning, but now it's like, yeah, okay, but now it's investment.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the area which is needed. And especially in my experience, there's a lot of femtech dedicated fund, and I would say mainly in Europe. Not that I'm trying to not say anything about co-adventure, no, but like mainly in Europe, where because femtech is seen as a movement of women and like, oh, we're trying to help each other, so we're not serious whatsoever, that the criteria are tougher to enter. And so it's really interesting to see this kind of what's going on. So I'm talking about my own experience, right? So it's really based on what I see and what has happened for us, that we find more funds to its non-specialized investment or focus fund. But yeah, so I would say investment is what we need. We need more money into it, and I think a way to do so is to emphasize on not femtech but healthcare and how it impacts how other people are going to get money, basically, because at the end goal, that's how they want to know.
Yep.
The sad truth.
Laura, this has been an amazing conversation. You're incredible. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.